Morning, it's early morning, November 22nd. Dragged myself off the couch, nice and warm, to get out in the sub-zero temperatures to test my mettle to see what my tolerance is for getting out and doing some winter rides. Man, it's been a long winter. It's been about 4 months since I've been outside on a bike ride, and it feels good to get out on this fairly mild end of March day. I can honestly say this is the longest I've been not outside on a ride in the winter in many, many years since I started cycling more seriously. Maybe I'm just getting soft, but this winter just seemed to be too relentless to really get outside. Just, between the mix of ongoing very cold weather and ice and snow, I just wasn't going to take the chance this year. That should be it mostly for the messy stuff. Going to be mostly on the road, which is probably for the next month or so before the trail drops, where I'm going to be most of the time. Well, today's just really going to be a little loop around the city. We'll show you some of the beautiful city I live in. Maybe hit Juniper Cafe for one of my favorite cafe spots. And talk a little bit about what I've done this winter to try and stave off the insanity of a long Canadian winter. Well, we've established it's been a long winter, that's for sure. But so what have I been doing this winter to try and keep myself fit and sane during the long winter months here when I wasn't out on my bike? Well, obviously in terms of cycling related, I did do a little bit. So I have been doing some spin classes at my favorite cafe and spin studio here in Kingston, Pedal Works. So that's really been good. Been doing that maybe once a week, and I'd also hop on the spin bike at the gym and do that. Probably the biggest thing I do more, sort of in the off season, is strength training and hit the gym. So I was doing that about 4 times a week or so. If you haven't seen it, I just did a video on some of my favorite exercises, so make sure you check that out. I'll put a link to that at the end of the video. In that video, I really talk about sort of exercises that have a double purpose, one that are good just in generally for people and of any age, especially as you age and get older. There's certain things you should be doing to try and maintain your strength and fitness to help stave off that father time. And second thing, there is some carryover in terms of when you get back on the bike, some of the things you can do to help maintain things like stability, strength, stamina, and speed. So the other thing I do a fair bit in all year, but certainly in the winter is even more important, is just to get out and do some walks and hikes. You see all the geese and ducks have come back just in the last couple of weeks. So I do quite a bit of that, certainly with my daughter's dog, Darla. As you can see here, we get out quite a bit. I usually do 10 to 12,000 steps a day. You go for a walk? You gonna go for a walk? Let's go. The girl loves to walk. One thing that's more recent is actually went back to sort of an old love and hobby of mine, is I've started building a sort of a home budget audiophile system. So I spent some time this past winter seeking out what the best budget sound I can get out of a system. So that's been quite interesting. Building what I'm quite proud of is a beautiful system to listen to some old favorites and some new favorites. I see some swans over there. And Lemoyne's Point, where I take Darla for hikes quite a bit, is across the way. And this is part of the Great Lakes Waterfront Trail here that separated the heads into Kingston. There's a nice touch here in Kingston on Baywards Drive. They've done the whole road actually, they've done over the last couple of years. Put these separated bike lanes in. Which is nice because it's a section of a waterfront trail. People can use it for commuting. It's kind of pretty. Just getting near one of my favorite spots in Kingston. Just a great spot to go for a walk, go for a swim, and they have a little bike path through there at Lake Ontario Park. I thought I'd stop here first. My mic's being a bit wonky. But speaking of bike lanes, I'm interested to hear how you feel about how your city or municipality is doing with that. Kingston's pretty good, I think. You know, I try and incorporate bike lanes, stay away from traffic as much as I can, but when you're cycling in the city, it's near impossible. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about some of my goals. I guess I said goals, I don't know. They're usually pretty loose that way. And I'm also very much an opportunist for things like rides and whatnot. Some say, want to go here? Yeah, sure. Otherwise, I often tend to overthink some things. So this year, I want to maybe work on getting out a little bit more without overthinking things too much. One other thing I'm doing is really kind of minimizing the emphasis on data. So today, you'll notice I don't have my Garmin.
Hello.
Hi there. I am using my watch. So I still will keep track of data. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all, but for somebody who's a recreational cyclist, what I've found oftentimes is going back again years is, you know, getting an overemphasis on data. I tend to go all in on things. Sometimes I just find it a real big distraction and even causes more anxiety, especially since I've had my arrhythmia. I've really been using the data and heart rate monitors and not to track that, to try and not get too high heart rate to try and trigger it. So that in and of itself is good, but also on the other hand, always watching it. There's a hypervigilance that's happened with me at times that I feel if I just use my intuition, so that's kind of one thing, use my intuition a bit more, trust myself, trust my body, trust my judgment as well. This year I'd actually like to do more group rides and events. And I don't do competitive events. I've done, you can see here, if you follow the channel, a few of the Lennox and Addington County rides, which are great. They have 3 of them now throughout the spring to fall. And I recommend you check out my videos on that and book into one of those. They're fantastic. You're more than likely to see me there. And so like do that, get out with the Pedal Works group, some friends, and like I said, do a few more events I'll be open to doing as well. Woohoo! I love it. It's so much fun to be back on the bike again. So what's coming up for rides this year? Like I said, I hope to do a few more events, and I'm sure we'll, you know, film some of them. There are a few more Ontario Rail Trails I haven't done. I'd love to hear from you which ones you'd like to see. You know, some of them really I've done focus mostly on Eastern Ontario, and a few sort of in South Central Ontario. So, you know, it'd be nice to tackle some new trails. Over there you can see the famous Kingston Penitentiary. That is now more of a tourist attraction. It's always nice to cycle along here, do a little loop of the city, and but I am hoping to get away from the city a little bit this year, do some rides elsewhere. I may be making a trip back to BC. We'll see. I have family there and have done quite a few years ago some rides out there. I'd love to revisit, maybe check out some new ones. I'd love to be able to get some drone footage in there. I don't think you can do that. And across the way was where the women's penitentiary was. Lots of prisons in Kingston. Some guard towers. Cool spot. Real pretty location. I would be interested to hear from you whether you'd like to see me carry on with the Bike and Brew series, which I started in Prince Edward County last year. Let me know in the comments. I've also been threatening to do a 1 or 2 day bike packing trip at some point. Now I'm not a camper, so it would be a credit card bike packing trip, but there's a few I might consider, so let me know if you'd like to see that as well. Well, there's the ride of the day, my trusty steel Kona Row. Been a great reliable bike. I've got my Trek checkpoint tucked away until it's a little bit nicer conditions. So that was a beautiful stop, Juniper Cafe. Again, a beautiful historic building in Kingston, one of my favorites to stop in here for a cafe ride. And that's probably to another point this year I'm going to try and work on a little bit, is just make sure and I enjoy the experiences more than just the analytics and data and, you know, how far the ride is, whatever. Just kind of get out and enjoy the experience of riding. Well, time to head back home. Running low on time, so I really enjoyed my stop here. I'm going to head back home, try and get some time in to walk the dogs this afternoon before the rain comes. Today's ride was never intended to be very long or intense. Again, I've really only been doing a little bit of spin, so I'm just working my way back into it and look forward to more great rides to come. Well, it looks like I didn't beat the rain, but it's not too bad. What do you expect for March? Well, really nice to get back out on the bike again. And one thing I was thinking about as well as goals is this time of year is a really good time to kind of hone in on some of your habits and skills. And one thing I really like about indoor cycling and spin class and whatnot is you're kind of held hostage in a way, and you know, you don't have the sights of, you know, nature. You're not dealing with cars, not dealing with wind. You know, a lot more distractions and variables on the road, of course. So I find with the classes I do with Martha at Pedalworks, for example, she's really good at you know, making sure you keep track of your breathing and your cadence and, you know, your efforts and whatnot. And it's a really kind of mindful class at the same time training, which I really like. And I'm not, you know, I've had some difficulties with just regular breathing. Not that there's anything wrong, it's just I've gotten into more like mouth breathing, so I'm trying to really work more on nasal breathing. Not always possible, and when you're doing a big effort or climb, you're going to probably have to suck more in, but I think it helps calm the you know, your heart rate a little bit in most cases, and that's good for me as well to do that. Other things are just, again, you know, making sure I'm keeping my efforts enjoyable and not pushing too hard. Going back to one of the goals I set for myself, just enjoy the ride a bit more than getting too focused on, you know, outcomes. So I hope you found that hopeful. I hope you stick around and stay with me for the next cycling season. Gonna have lots of fun rides, lots to look forward to, I think. And come on, spring, take care.